It's the night of September 6th, 1936. In Hobart, Tasmania, the temperature is dropping toward freezing. Inside a concrete enclosure at the Beaumaris Zoo, an animal that exists nowhere else on Earth is locked outside its sleeping quarters. The door to shelter is right there, just closed. No keeper comes to open it. By morning, the last known Tasmanian tiger on the planet is dead. Nobody photographed the body. Nobody wrote an obituary. The zoo didn't even bother to tell the newspapers right away. And here's the part almost nobody puts together. This isn't just a sad ending. It's two stories running side by side. One is about how casually we let this animal disappear. The neglect, the indifference, the doors that should have been opened. The other is about what's happening right now in labs in Melbourne and Texas, where scientists are trying to undo it. And by the end, those two stories collide in a way you won't see coming. So how did it get to that locked door in the first place? The thylacine wasn't a tiger, and it wasn't a dog. It was a marsupial, the largest carnivorous marsupial of modern times, with a stiff kangaroo-like tail, a wolf-shaped head, and stripes across its back. Both males and females carried a pouch. There was nothing else like it anywhere on the planet. And we hunted it on purpose. For decades, sheep farmers blamed the thylacine for livestock losses that were probably caused by wild dogs and their own overgrazing. The Tasmanian government listened anyway and paid a bounty for every dead thylacine handed in. Over 2,000 bounties were paid out. Shot, trapped, poisoned, one body at a time. By the 1930s, the species was almost gone in the wild. Sightings had become rare enough that scientists started sounding alarms. And in a moment of almost unbearable irony, Tasmania finally granted the thylacine legal protection in 1936. 59 days later, the last known individual was dead. The animal at the Beaumaris Zoo had been there for years, and footage of it survives. Grainy black and white film shot in 1933, showing it pacing, yawning, resting in the sun. It's some of the only moving footage of a living thylacine that will ever exist. And today, the National Film and Sound Archive of Australia holds and preserves it. Watch it now, and you're watching a species that had no idea it was the last of anything. By 1936, the zoo was in transition. Its longtime proprietor had just died. Ownership was changing hands. And by most accounts, basic care was slipping through the cracks. Reports from the time say the thylacine had been in good health, but had picked up a chill during a cold spell. Then came the night of September 6th. The door to its sleeping den was closed. No one opened it. Tasmanian winter nights can drop close to freezing. And the animal was left on bare concrete, exposed, with nowhere to get warm. That's the detail that doesn't make it into most versions of this story. Not a mysterious illness. Not old age. A door somebody forgot, or didn't bother to open. And once it was gone, it didn't just take one species with it. It secured Australia's place as the country with the worst mammal extinction record on the planet. Not one of the worst. The worst. Here's what almost nobody realizes about the aftermath, though. For decades, people insisted on calling that final thylacine Benjamin, and insisted it was male. It became part of the legend. But when researchers went back through the zoo's actual records in recent years, they couldn't find a single one that used that name. It may never have existed. Even the animal's sex is still debated. We built a personality around an animal we barely bothered to document while it was alive. Stack that up against everything else. A bounty system that wiped out the population. A protection order that came 59 days too late. A zoo in the middle of a management shakeup. A door left shut on a freezing night. A death nobody thought was worth reporting. And a name we may have simply invented afterward because the truth felt too empty to sit with. That's not one mistake. That's a whole chain of small ones, and every single link was avoidable. For a long time, that was where the story ended. A cautionary tale, filed away. But the thylacine didn't just vanish from Tasmania's history. It left a hole in Tasmania's ecosystem. It sat at the top of the food chain there, and when you remove the top predator from an island ecosystem, everything under it shifts. That imbalance is still being studied today, which is exactly why what's happening now matters. At the University of Melbourne, a research group called the Thylacine Integrated Genomic Restoration Research Lab has spent years trying to reconstruct the thylacine genome from preserved specimens. And because the species went extinct so recently, in genetic terms, the DNA is in exceptional condition. The lab is led by Dr. Andrew Pask, who has spent the better part of his career on this one animal. In 2025, Pask left his position to become Chief Biology Officer at Colossal Biosciences, the company known for its work on de-extinction, folding his lab's thylacine work directly into their program. Together, the team has assembled a thylacine genome accurate to well over 99.9%, mapped down to the chromosome level. They've identified the genetic regions responsible for the animal's distinctive wolf-like skull, and they've edited those changes into the cells of a living relative, the fat-tailed Dunart, which is small enough and biologically close enough to eventually serve as a genetic stand-in. That single cell line now carries over 300 separate genetic edits. It's the most extensively edited animal cell line ever created. None of that is science fiction. It's published, peer-reviewed, ongoing work. Running right now, on the other side of the planet from where a door was left shut in 1936. And this is where the two threads actually meet. The story of neglect and the story of restoration aren't separate anymore. Every genetic edit being made in that lab exists specifically because of what was lost on that cold night. Because a species that could have been protected wasn't. And now the only way back is through laboratories instead of forests. The negligence created the very problem the science is now trying to solve. Nobody is promising a living thylacine tomorrow, building a viable embryo, developing it in an artificial womb, raising a healthy animal that behaves like a thylacine, and not just resembles one genetically. All of that is still ahead. So here's the question worth sitting with. If the technology succeeds, if a living, breathing thylacine walks the earth again within our lifetimes, does that undo what happened in 1936? Or does it just prove we're capable of fixing our mistakes only after they've already cost us everything? Let me know what you think in the comments.